Hello everybody, welcome back to another Malts and Meeples video. My apologies for that false start there. I want to make sure everything is working correctly here in a second, hopefully on my phone. There we go. We are good and going. There was, of course, the system was just like, hey, we're going to stop recognizing your camera at the very last possible second once the video had gone live, just as I was ready to click off. We are back here for more of the top 100 games of all time 2025 edition, this time 70 through 61. I am Petter, and yeah, this is my rankings. You can check out the previous videos here on the channel. And of course, we kick this off hopefully with the right one here. I'm going to be real fast, ready to click if need be. Number 70. This is actually up one spot. This is Meadow. Meadow is an interesting kind of card collection, almost engine building sort of experience. In Meadow, you are creating, well, a meadow. But to create that meadow, you need to take cards and play them out of this kind of central area. The central area is a 4x4, I believe. Yeah, 4x4 grid. And along the sides, on three of the sides, you have spots to put your markers. That blocks things off and tells people where you're taking from. But it also has a number on it, and that tells what spot you're taking it from. So you need to be smart about how you place things around in order to be able to get what you want. Get the things that combo into the larger creatures, the more points for you further on in the game. I really like that puzzle, plus it has that great artwork to it that you can see on the cover there. And then we move on to number 69. Number 69 is new to the list this year. I feel like I played it last year, but I kind of suspect that this was one where I started playing it after I did the list last year, and that's going to be Mountain Goats. Now, this is a really simple game. You're just trying to basically play King of the Hill on, what is it, 6 columns. So for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And you roll a group of dice, and then you decide how you want to split up those dice to move up on those tracks. If you were, for example, to roll all 6s, then sure, you can go up 4 times on the 6, which would get you to the top. That'd be your only option. But if you roll 2 6s and 2 4s, now you have some choices. You could go up twice on the 10, that would get you to the top, and that gets you a 10-point token. Or you could move up twice on the 6s and once on the 8. You have a lot of different options. The point is to get to the top and then stick at the top and continue to kind of butt your Mountain Goat's head against the top, collecting more points. However, when somebody makes it to the top, they knock you all the way back down to the bottom on that number. It's simple, but it's just a fun game to play, and it's one that works surprisingly well, just for how simple that it is. Number 68 here, down 29 spots, and that's just because I haven't gotten it played again. I need to play this one. I need to find a time to kind of relearn it and play it. But this is Burn Cycle. This is a big game from Chip 3 Games. One that I had a blast playing at Gen Con a couple years ago. That was when I learned it. And it offers so much. This is a game where robots took over Earth. Then humans took it back. And so now robots are on the run. and you're trying to sneak into areas and complete objectives, you don't really want to get seen if you can help it, because that's going to alert all the guard robots to your whereabouts. Plus, then you are also hacking into the system, which is going to give you more actions or more things that you can do. There's just a lot of different moving parts to this game that for me are a lot of fun. It's a big box, lots of different components. I mean, the whole map itself, it's not cardboard boards. This is neoprene boards. Plus, it has the great chips. And then I really didn't mention about how you take your actions. That's built around the chips that are in the burn cycle. And you can swap things in and out, but the burn cycle is also going to degrade over time. And so you're managing your chips and creating this burn cycle, and then having to decide when it's just not worth it. Things escalate when you reset the cycle, but when you reset the cycle, you get more things back. So it's that really nice balance. Number 67 is going to be back on the list. It hasn't been on the past couple of years, and this one, I think it's because we've been talking about playing it recently. The Lost Expedition. This is a game that I really do enjoy as a cooperative game. I think it fell off the list because I had played it a bunch, but in terms of being a good cooperative gaming experience, it's one of the top ones because no one can really alpha game it. If I play, well, kind of describe how it plays, you play out cards into an expedition. Your kind of morning hike and then your evening hike. Your morning hike, the cards are going to go out in order. So you can kind of plan things out. You look and go, look at the ability of a card and say, that's going to allow me to skip the next card. So if my next card numerically is really bad, that's okay. That's going to work because it will get skipped. But then you can't really discuss that. Everybody has to make that decision for themselves. Then you have that group kind of decision-making period. And that would probably be the period where potentially you could have more alpha gamering. But I've still noticed that it doesn't happen as much because that main critical decision of how to play things out is done by the person who's playing out a card. Then in the evening, there's a twist on it. You no longer play out your cards in numerical order. So if I have a 25, that just goes in the slot where I would put it. And so it's an interesting balancing act of trying to get your cards played into that right spot without like leaving yourself really bad cards for night, because there's no guarantee the person ahead of you is going to be able to help you deal with them. And so it's this really interesting balancing act of gaining resources, spending those resources, and trying to traverse down the track. Or down the track, the pathway to the lost city of Z. Next one has dropped a ways, 49 spots down. I still enjoy it. It's a big campaign game, ISS Vanguard. It simply dropped because last couple of years I had been playing it recently. I haven't played it recently this year. Like I probably haven't played it in a year and a half. It's a campaign game that I would love to get back to, but also a campaign game where I look at it and go, I think that this game would be best with 2 people or more. Like maybe up to 4. 4 is the max. But it's a good solo campaign. At the same time, I think it would be a better campaign with more people. This game has you exploring these different planets, uncovering a story that you really don't know what it's going to be because humanity deciphered a message that gave them coordinates in space, and the Vanguard has just gone out there to figure out what it is. The game is also split into two parts, and I enjoy both parts, I think, equally as well. There's the planetary exploration, which is fun. It's a lot of dice management that works well. And there's, like, each planet's going to be very different. But then you also have this ship phase, and the ship phase feels meaningful. You're healing crew, you're researching new technologies, you're dealing with events that just happen because crew's people. Like, these are people on a spaceship. They don't know what they want to do. Like, they they feel like they're floating out in space with no direction. And honestly, in some ways, they are. And so getting that feeling, getting those events, and trying to figure out how to deal with them and manage them, because everything costs resources, everything costs you something, and you have to balance that out. That's going to take us to number 65. Now, 65 is down 12 spots from last year and 33 spots from the year before. This is another bigger game, and one where Mansions Madness, I love the game. This is just one that I haven't gotten played recently. I need to play it some more. I need to try out more of the scenarios. I have played probably that introductory scenario, which isn't really an introductory scenario, it's just the first scenario there is, a number of times. I want to experiment and play around more with others. I wish there were some shorter scenarios in there, but this game has app assistance that keeps track or works kind of with the bad guys, and these events that occur to the players, and it works really well. It's much better than having somebody have to run the game and hoping that person runs it correctly, because they're playing a very different game and experience than you. Plus, it allows for some different, interesting puzzles to be part of everything. I just need to play this more. I have a bunch of it, I just need to get it played. I love the Lovecraftian theme for it. This kind of horror, but not horror in some ways. It's like monsters and eldritch beings sort of horror. So I really like it, and the few different scenarios I've played have always been a blast. So this is one that I just need to get it back to the table. No real excuse. If I get it back to the table in the next year, I 100% expect this game to hop up. I don't know, maybe hop back up those 30 places. Number 64, though, is going to be a much smaller game. We've had a number of big games on this part of the list. This one is, I mean, I guess for the type of game it is, it's a roll and write game, and it's Sonora. This is a bigger roll and write game. Of course, it's not purely a roll and write game. It's the roll and write mechanism, the idea of you get some numbers and you fill them in on locations. For this one, you're not rolling dice, you're flicking discs around a board, and depending on which quadrant you land in, that determines what area you use that particular number in. It's a fun, kind of silly twist on it, and this game, in terms of like the roll and write, filling things in, is a really fun time because there are just so many combos in this game. You fill in on one area, say you're circling different or surrounding different cacti. You might surround like an area that then is going to give you another symbol, owls, let's say, and an owl's 6, so you have the ability to fill it in on the owl section. And it's just, everything combos off against each other, and it's just fun. It's silly, few minutes of everybody flicking discs onto the board, and then a few minutes of everybody just heads down on their board, placing out their discs, being like, okay, this one goes in this section, let's activate that. If I activate that, I get this in this area, and figuring out how well they can combo everything together, which is something that I really do look for in a roll and write style game. Give me lots of combos, please. Number 63, we're going back to something that's a little bit larger, though Lands of Galzyr is, while it is a story-driven game, it's a much lighter experience than, say, Mansions of Madness, ISS Vanguard, or even Burn Cycle, though Burn Cycle has less story and more mechanisms in it. Lands of Galzyr is all about kind of this fun little time. You're taking quests, you're going around the lands, you're interacting with different characters, traveling to different locations, interacting with people or creatures, I guess, at those different locations. This one has actually been as high as 29 for me 2 years ago. It was 89 last year, so it came back up a little bit. And this is one that I've played solo. I want to play it multiplayer. I think it'd be a fun one to just kind of share a relaxed experience with. And it is also fun, too, that you have the ability to kind of adjust your character as you go. This isn't a game where you level up or anything like that. This is a game where you might be good at sneaking and thieving, and then realize, oh, all my quests are about lore and story now, so let's transfer my stats over when I can into that area so that I can now complete those quests and gain kind of fame around the land. Okay, so we're getting towards the top of this section of the list. Number 62 is going to be Kohaku. This one went back up 26 places. Interesting that Kohaku and Lands of Galzyr the past 2 years have been back to back. Now, 3 years ago, Kohaku was 38, Lands of Galzyr was 29, so not quite there. It's a real shame that Lands of Galzyr wasn't 39 2 years ago. But Kohaku is a drafting, tableau building, point scoring game. And I like it because it's pretty simple in what it does, but it gives you a nice restriction or two in the game. So the restriction basically is, as you draft, you have to take 2 adjacent tiles. And those tiles, with how the draft board is set up, are always going to be a koi tile and kind of a feature tile. The feature tiles are going to be how you score your points, and the koi tiles generally are going to be how, are going to tell you what you score, the feature tiles, and the koi tiles are going to then be how you activate those scorings a lot of the time. But then when you place them down, you have to follow the same rules. Now, you don't have to place them adjacent to each other, but you can't have a feature adjacent to another feature. And you can't have a koi adjacent to another koi. So you have this kind of checkerboard type pattern that you create in your koi pond. And you're going to build your koi pond into whatever shape you want, whatever is going to make sense for you to do. And it's just a fun, pretty relaxing sort of game. Great artwork. I have the original edition. I say the original edition. There's no major differences. I don't think there's any differences for gameplay, but there is a difference in how it looks. So the version that I have has acrylic tiles. These acrylic tiles have things printed on the bottom and on the top to give you that feeling of depth, and they look absolutely gorgeous. Now, they're a pain to pull off the seal on both sides, or at least it was on the top side, of especially like hard pointed edged acrylic tiles. You're trying to peel off a super thin layer of something. That's no fun. But the look of it is so good that it's very much worth it, in my opinion. Then number 61, actually going back to Kohaku for a second, the new version has cardboard tiles. So if you're looking for it, that's kind of the difference. My number 61, so the top one on this part of the list, is actually a game that I sold and I got rid of. It wasn't until I played it on Board Game Arena that I was like, I like this game, and I realized what I didn't like about my first experience. And I'm talking about Nidavellir here. Nidavellir is a drafting bidding game, where you bid at 3 different taverns for different dwarves. And you're going to get 1 dwarf from each tavern. It's pretty simple, straightforward. 2-player, it's just too locked in. But 3-player, it opens up the strategy. Feels more interesting with the bidding that you do, and it just adds a whole lot more fun to the game. So much so that it's on my list here at number 61. I think that this game works best at 3 or 4. And yeah, like I said, it's just about drafting dwarves from different groups of dwarves. And each of them are going to score you points in slightly different ways. But to go along with that, you can't just draft only a single type of dwarf. Most of them kind of scale up the more you have of them. But you also have to consider getting complete sets of each, or of all 5 different types of dwarves. So once you have one of each type, you get to take a bonus special dwarf. And these special dwarves are going to give you points in different ways. They might get added to one of the colors, or they might just collect by themselves, or they might allow you to upgrade your coins. Because that's another really fun element of the game, upgrading your coins. So everybody starts out with the same, a 0, 2, 3, 4, 5. And whatever tavern you put your 0 on, you're probably going to be going last. But you put down your 0, the 2 coins that you didn't bid with, since you can only bid with 1 coin, you get rid of the highest one of those 2, and then you swap that for the combined total. So say on the first turn I bid a 3 on one spot, a 2 on another spot, and then a 0 on the last spot. When I get to that 0, I flip over my 4 and 5, get rid of my 5, and take a 9. So the bidding starts to escalate, and some of that matters because there are various things that score those coins, your highest coin, as well in the game. So works, in my opinion, as a 3 to 4 player game. Didn't love it as 2. In fact, I got rid of my copy after I played a few games at 2. I was just like, I don't enjoy this. But at 3 or 4, and I played it in person at 3 or 4, I think at 3 a couple times, and I've still really enjoyed it. So that is 70 through 61. Let's quickly run through everything here. At 70, we had Meadow, a fun animal tableau building game. Then at 69, we have Mountain Goats, a King of the Hill point collection game. Basically what it is with dice rolling. I mean, it's a pretty lucky game. 68, Burn Cycle, one of the first kind of big games on this chunk of the list. This is about helping robots sneak around, complete missions, hack the system, and avoid those pesky humans. Then at 67 here, correct? 67. I say that, I'm like questioning myself. Yes, we have Lost Expedition back on the list. Try to survive your way to the lost city of Z in this cooperative game that really does a good job of keeping alpha player from happening. At 66, we have the next big game, ISS Vanguard. This is a big space exploration game where you're exploring planets, trying to discover kind of the mysteries out there, as well as then you are exploring, or not exploring, you're managing your ship. At 65, we're going to have Mansions of Madness, another big scenario game, kind of Burn Cycle-esque in terms of scenarios, not campaign. This one's all Lovecraftian, with using an app to assist, so that it can do things like dynamically generate the world and puzzles for you. At 64, we have our Flick and Write game, or Roll and Write game, where you flick the discs instead of rolling. And this game is all about that fun of flicking discs and then the combo-tastic fun of filling out your sheet. Number 63 is Lands of Galzir. This is another story-driven game. A little bit, it's not really campaign-esque, but it's more kind of that cozy-ish type of game where you play as animal creatures and complete various missions, and you can just really play through as many months as you want. A lot of story. You do need computer or a phone to play this. Number 62, Kohaku, a drafting game about building your best scoring koi pond that looks absolutely beautiful because of the dual layer acrylic tiles. And finally, at 61, we have Nidavellir, a bidding drafting game of set collecting dwarves to get a lot of points and trying to outsmart your opponents to complete your bids and grab bonus dwarves, or complete like full sets of all the colors and grab bonus dwarves. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Normal streaming schedule was kind of thrown off this week. I didn't stream on Monday. I'm not going to be streaming on Friday, I don't believe. Normally on Friday, my wife and I are streaming Baldur's Gate 3, and on Mondays I have been streaming it's not Legendary Kingdoms. There we go. I was going to say Kingdom Legacy, but no, that's not right. I've already streamed that one. Legendary Kingdoms, a kind of solo choose your own adventure RPG experience. So we'll be back to normal schedule, I believe, next week. I just want to thank everybody for checking out the video. If you enjoy this content, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell to know when new videos come out, and drop a comment down below. What game from this section of the list is the most exciting to you and the one that you want to check out? Plus, you can find articles that I'm putting up. You can see games that are leaving my collection. I'm doing kind of a series of culling different categories of games just to see what's going to stick around and what's going to leave, as well as then board game reviews for the new things that I'm trying out on Board Game Arena, and more over on Nerdologists.com. Link for that is down in the description below. And I also have a podcast, the podcast 10 Minute Marvel. You can find the podcast here on YouTube, searching for 10 Minute Marvel, or wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcasts from. But with that, bottoms up.